Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, Nigeria's president reaches out to the UN for help in negotiating the release of hundreds of schoolgirls still being held by Boko Haram. The country is facing increasing pressure from home and abroad to get the Chibok captives back from the insurgents. Also, the Malian army is boosting operations around the central town of Djenne in a pushback against Islamists who have increasingly targeted the area. Ansar Dine's vowed to destabilise the Sahel region. And both a welcome and unwelcome neighbour. Conservationists are doing what they can to improve the relationship between West Africa's last rhino and the Ivorian community he lives alongside. It's one that's been somewhat strained since the rare animal killed the village chief. We turn first to Nigeria. Its president said that he is willing to bend over backwards to free 217 schoolgirls still missing after they were abducted from the town of Chibok by Boko Haram extremists back in 2014. Now, Muhammadu Buhari's reached out to the UN for help in negotiating the girls' release. His government's efforts to get them back have been roundly criticised by distraught parents. Recently, Nigeria's information minister claimed that the girls' release has nearly been secured 3 times, but that negotiations kept collapsing. Senator Shehu Sani has sat down with Boko Haram negotiators in the past. He joins us now from Kaduna. Senator, thanks for taking the time out to speak to us. Now, what do you think that the UN can bring to the table that's been lacking up to now in the negotiations for the girls' release?
Well, what the UN can bring to the table is trust. Trust for both sides. All along, it has not been easy for either the government to trust negotiators or to trust the Boko Haram group or the Boko Haram to trust the government or negotiators. But if you have the United Nations as an independent mediator, there is the possibility of both sides coming into a sort of an agreement that will guarantee that the deal will be observed by both sides.
Do you think that Boko Haram, whose name after all does mean Western education is forbidden, is likely to have more trust in the United Nations than it is in the Nigerian government?
Well, the problem we have been having with negotiations in the last 3 to 4 to 5 years since this problem started has to do with the very fact that the government doesn't believe that the group will abide by any agreement, and also the group doesn't believe that the government will abide by its own words. So most times mediators are frustrated. Each time there is a deal or near a deal, you find these talks collapsing. So for the group, I believe that a new mediator that will guarantee their demands of release of their members in return for the girls will be a fresh beginning. Also for the government, they have several occasions been defrauded by scammers who parade themselves as mediators, and also the very fact that they don't trust if they should release the Boko Haram insurgents who are in detention, that they will get back. So in all respect, that a mediating body that is outside of the country could serve as a guarantee, I believe that will be a step forward.
Thanks very much. Senator Shehu Sani there speaking to us about Muhammadu Buhari's overtures to the United Nations to help Nigeria negotiate the release of the 217 Chibok schoolgirls still being held by Boko Haram. Now, the insurgents have, over the last couple of years, increasingly also targeted border communities of Nigeria's neighbours as well. On Wednesday night, a suicide attack killed at least 3 people in northern Cameroon. Authorities in Jacana, where it happened, say that the bomber had originally planned on targeting the nearby town of Mora. He detonated his device when he was spotted in Jacana by a local vigilante who was also killed. Boko Haram's 7-year insurgency has cost over 20,000 lives in the region, and not just through direct violence. Anna Cunningham tells us more.
2-year-old Abdullahi is dying from hunger. His mother can barely watch as a team of doctors work to save her son. This intensive care unit is in Maiduguri, in northeast Nigeria, where many victims of Boko Haram have fled, seeking refuge. Here, the Doctors Without Borders team treat the most serious cases of malnutrition every day. They're seeing an increasing number of children starving and desperate.
The diseases that we see all the day in the ICU are related to sepsis, pneumonia, malaria, diarrhea.
For 7 years, the Islamist militant group Boko Haram has waged its bloody insurgency across the north of Nigeria and into the border region of Lake Chad. An estimated 20,000 people have died. More than 2.6 million have had to flee their homes. Now the United Nations estimate that some 65,000 people are living in famine. The UN says it now needs $714 million to fund its programmes. But with Nigeria now in recession, it's only received 21% of the $484 million it needs. And the situation may be worse than feared, with some rural areas cut off by fighting and insecurity.
Right now, more than half of the region is still inaccessible. So there are still a lot of people out there who need a lot of help.
With land destroyed or mined, farmers unable to grow crops and water sources contaminated, hunger has now become the collateral damage of the insurgency.
In Mali, the market town of Djenne is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Life there, though, has become increasingly difficult as Ansar Dine Islamists have begun targeting sites towards the centre of Mali. The army is boosting operations there in response. Our correspondents tell us more.
The Bani River is in flood, yet traders and customers still cross, defying seasonal and security challenges. It's market day in Djenne.
Thank you, my friend. What's your name? What's your name?
The town is listed by UNESCO as Endangered World Heritage. It dwells under the threat of the Messina Brigade of Ansar Dine. Attacks are on the increase in the region. Still, Laji will not miss market day.
Here in Djenne, we feel safe, like everything will be all right. Everywhere in the world there's insecurity. There's a lot of crime. You just have to get used to it. We're not going to stop living because of this. Life goes on. As long as we live, incidents like this will happen.
36 Malian soldiers have been killed in 2 months, and the defense minister has been sacked. Bolstering weak Malian authorities and containing the violence in the region now falls to the 1,300 peacekeepers stationed in Sevare.
Often there are lots of robberies, hold-ups during the fairs, and we're here to make sure everyone is safe. We have a network of informants that we share with local authorities. We work hand in hand with them.
The UN mission in Mali is the peacekeeping force that has suffered the most casualties. It's focused on jihadist operations in northern Mali, but the past 6 months have seen 12 terrorist attacks in the central region.
Well, conservationists in Ivory Coast have rushed into the centre to a tiny village in the region of Chibok to try and save the life of West Africa's last rhino. Its relationship with villagers it lives alongside has become strained after it killed a local chief.
Djenne is a village with a secret. On the surface, everything looks normal. But alongside the 1,000 or so residents here, there is one very unusual neighbour living just a few metres away.
This is the animal we've been talking about. We call it rhino ferocious because it's really ferocious. We're scared of him, but we wouldn't do anything to hurt him.
At 1.60 meters high and more than 3 meters long, the rhino weighs around 2 tons. He's at least 20 years old. With a mixture of fear and fascination, the local kids have accepted the town's latest addition. But their parents and other adults aren't so sure.
It's a problem, a real problem, because sometimes the rhino takes over our fields, blocks the way to our farms, and sometimes it kills our livestock. We don't go near him, we don't try and threaten him, because we are worried that something might happen to one of us.
That fear is justified. Only a few weeks ago, the rhino accidentally killed the village chief. Now, some residents want a nature reserve built to protect both them and the rhino.
I think we have to make people more aware and help them understand that this can be a resource for them. They could even organize tourist visits to see the rhino.
West African rhinos have been killed for their horns, which some believe have aphrodisiacal properties. Hunted to the brink of extinction, this is now the only known wild rhino left in the region.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks very much for joining us. Do so again. Take care.
نقاش فرانس 24 جدل الآن وحديث وتعليق من وفي كل مكان.
France 24, c'est une passerelle entre les cultures, c'est la diversité.
It's also a great way of sharing it and discussing it on social media.
We give a voice to women and girls, whoever they are, wherever they are.
هل تعرفون باريس؟ أحقاً تعرفونها؟ تابعوا France 24 لمعرفة المزيد.
Tout ce que vous avez toujours voulu savoir sur l'Europe, c'est sur notre chaîne.